Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Warren, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to welcome Mr. Kapora, who's our 9th and final member.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Could we have a moment of silence and reflection before we start our business tonight? Linda, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Kapora,
Here.
Mr. Giovanni,
Here.
Mr. Goffredo,
Here.
Mr. Heckman,
Here.
Ms. Keegan,
Here.
Mr. Kraft,
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Here.
Mr. Warren.
Here.
All present, Mr. Heckman by phone.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve the minutes of February 1st, 2024?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? There's no one who signed up for courtesy of the floor. Is there anybody who wishes to speak? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on. Mr. McClure, do you have a report this evening?
Other than on behalf of our administration to welcome Mr. Kapoor to Northampton County government, I do not have a report.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
For Mr. McClure?
Thanks.
No? Any old business? Yes.
Can we get an update on the IT progression? I think we had a March 1st date for the upgrades in here. Is there any update from the administration where we are
Sorry,
with that?
Mr. McClure. Delayed response.
Yeah, I don't know if that was Mr. Barron or Mr. McClure.
I know that several of the upgrades were contained in the budget as adopted by council at the end of last year, and my instruction was to make sure that construction was happening here as soon as possible, but apparently there were some scheduling issues around these meetings, including committee meetings. So, Mr. Barron, I think we'll be able to elucidate a little more what's going on.
We try to keep your room in as good a shape as possible for your meetings. Cables have been pulled, parts have been ordered, and one of your ceiling tiles is out because
think of
we're
it, yeah.
pulling cables. So work is happening. I will have more of an update as things progress and we get equipment in when we start changing stuff out.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we're good? Okay.
Any other old business? Any new business? Introduction of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance leasing Northampton County-owned real property to Weinhofer Farms, LLC of Whitehall, Pennsylvania. Can I have someone sponsor the ordinance, please?
I'll sponsor it.
Second.
Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held on March 7th, 2024. Next, we have the introduction of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing for an agreement for wildlife habitat management on cooperating public lands with the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Can I have someone please sponsor this? I'll sponsor it. Second?
Second.
Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held March 7th, 2024 meeting. Next, we have the consideration of county executives' appointments, reappointments, resolution, Housing Authority, Mental Health, Early Intervention and Developmental Programs Advisory Board, Revenue Appeals Board, Workforce Board, Lehigh Valley. Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce the resolution?
Yes, I will. That's right. I'll introduce them all at once. All right. For Housing Authority, reappointment, Leonard Scott Parsons, Wingate, PA, term to expire 2/9/29. Reappointment for Mental Health, Early Intervention Development Program Advisory Board, reappointment Penny L. Evans, Nazareth, PA, term to expire 1/23/27. Revenue Appeals Board, Mark Kuster, Bethlehem, PA, term to expire 12/31/26. And last, the Workforce Board, Lehigh Valley, appointment Patrick Emmons, Nazareth, PA, and the term to expire is 6/30/27.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
yes,
Ms. Keegan.
yes,
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
yes,
Mr. Corporo.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have the consideration of a personnel request resolution from the Controller's Office. Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce the resolution?
Yes, sir. It is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council that the position of one full-time senior lead auditor, pay grade CS/GR32, salary $81,541, in the Office of the Controller shall be created effective February 16, 2024.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
you could go first.
I just want to clarify, and Mr. Zirinsky, I believe you answered this, but there was still some confusion. This is an additional position, correct? This is an added personnel, added, yeah, you can come to, yeah, sure.
I really wanted to clarify that, and I did reach out to you today. I don't know if you got my message. It's not an additional position that we're creating. The nature of the positions in the office is that somebody enters in as an Auditor 1. That Auditor 1 is promoted to an Auditor 2 within about a year, hopefully. And then there's a 3 to 5 year window where somebody who's an Auditor 2 can be promoted into the position of Lead Auditor. We currently only have one Lead Auditor position, and nobody at this time is available to promote to Lead Auditor. But at any given moment, we could have 4 to 5 lead auditors. It just depends on their promotion. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there aren't specific slots that need to be filled. It's not like we have 2 designated positions where we have an Auditor 1 and 2 designated positions for an Auditor 2 that need to be filled. This is a promotional position that people move up into. The goal is to have as many lead auditors as you can so you can perform audits as efficiently as possible. Because once they get to the position of lead auditor, it means they can do audits, what do I want to say? Not without supervision.
More
not-
independently?
But independently, yes.
I guess, and I don't want to get bogged down in minutia, but if we filled every position that would be available after this resolution passed, would there be more people in the office than currently?
No.
Because I'm just going off that flow chart that you sent us, and it was pretty evident that there'd be one more position. If we're just reclassifying or creating a different structure, I'm in favor of that. But if
That's
we're
exactly
adding
what we're doing.
personnel, and that's what that sheet that you gave us showed, it showed, it's very evident, one more position. That's where I'm a little confused. And it says right here that we're creating position, we're not reclassifying another, we're not taking another away. So I just want to
We've
make
always
sure.
had 7 auditors.
Are you looking at that handout that you handed me yesterday?
Yes, we've always had 6 auditors. I added this lead auditor in there because we have one already. We currently have 3, so if we vacated this, that person would become the senior lead auditor.
Right.
Because we only
The
have
other
one
sheet.
person to promote.
I understand that, and that's really not my concern. My main concern is, are we adding staff?
We are not.
adding-
We are not adding staff, and I just want to make sure I clarify that. I also want to clarify,
Did you go back to that sheet, though, the
Sure.
next page? Why is there another position there?
because this senior lead auditor position doesn't exist. This lead auditor position would be vacated so that the senior lead auditor position could be filled. So it's just a movement. It's just to show the movement. These are the people that we have already. And this is what we're trying to create, and that's what we're going to fill it with. But presumably, these people would move up in the ranks, and there would be, this person would drop off. We wouldn't have another auditor one.
And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but typically when we go over a situation like that, we'd see a sheet then that would show the delta, the change of what we have now if we pass a resolution, and the changing, what that would cost us.
Sure, I believe that Mary Lou Cavalli is here. I requested that. She said because we are not changing the position, we are creating this position, that she did not create that, or she did not need to provide that pay scale calculation. But what I can do is I can provide you with the career services schedule for 40-hour work weeks, and you could see what the difference in pay grades are. So if you'll just permit me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
So you see, our current lead auditors are paid at the pay scale of 28,000. I mean, 28, pay grade 28, sorry. You know what, it's been a long day. I literally drove to Carlisle this morning, sat through an intense controller training, and then drove back here, and I'm going to drive back there tonight. So let me just take a breath and compose myself for a minute. The lead auditor is currently at pay grade 28. The senior lead auditor would be paid at pay grade 32. The previous audit manager was paid at pay grade 35. So the senior lead auditor is not going to be paid at the same pay grade as the previous audit manager, but they are going to take on many of the auditing responsibilities, reviews, and training for the employees. This is kind of an essential position to have for stability, for efficiency and consistency in the office. And I want to emphasize, too, that recently the controller's position has been limited to 2 terms. So presumably, there's going to be guaranteed turnover in 8 years. So this is something that I believe is very important to keep the office intact. There are no other employees, as you see in the chart, who have been here that long. To try and even attempt to hire somebody off of the street would not be valuable to the office because of the institutional knowledge and the procedural knowledge that is essential to just keep it flowing. It's better to have a plan of succession in place so that we don't have to run into this with like Anthony Sabino retiring and him knowing everything, holding all the cards. I think it's really important, and this isn't about me. This is
Liz, you've
about
already
the
gone
county.
into- I agree with all the sentiments that you're suggesting. No doubt you need consistency and you need
Okay.
people there. I just want to make sure that I don't think I was misreading it, but it was very confusing looking at that sheet. You're not creating a new position, you're not
You're not.
adding new people.
We're not. But I do want to address something else while I'm here. Ms. Vargo Hefner asked yesterday how many
Could you wait
part-time.
just a minute, because somebody else had a question.
Oh, okay.
Are you finished with yours? Go ahead, Ms. Keegan, you had a question.
I didn't have a question, I just wanted to speak about.
Go ahead.
So Controller Zirinsky gave valid points for the personnel change that she wants to make for her team, and she has the power to do so according to the Home Rule Charter, Section 403. She clearly explained the reasoning for this request, and I agree that the senior lead auditor should be a protected career service position and not an exempt position serving at the will of the controller. Being that the controller could change every 4 years, it could happen. This request protects the team and it's substantiated. Our job as county council is to approve the salary, which is already in the budget. I applaud Controller Zirinsky for having a vision and is committed to maintaining continuity and consistency within her department. She's not asking for any additional funding. This is a no-brainer for me. And I kind of just want to make an observation that when District Barada made at least 10 personnel requests, he was not questioned or judged. But when Controller Zirinsky was, just upon one request. Just wanted to make that observation.
Any other? Mr. Warren?
Yeah, just a quick comment with regard to this, because I also wanted to make sure that I was fully understanding what this request was. And it is, from my understanding, that this is simply a reclassification, correct, Ms. Zirinsky? This is a reclassification, reclassifying the senior lead auditor from where it's currently at, which is exempt to career service, correct?
There is no current position called senior lead auditor.
Okay.
Previously, there was an exempt appointed position that was called audit manager. That position is now being called deputy controller. That position.
Because I'm new. Yes, I'm trying to learn
Yes. No, it's okay.
the classifications and titles.
So what this senior lead auditor does is it elevates and creates a position that is career service within the trajectory of promotions.
Right.
So that if we have 3 or 4 lead auditors that progress, presumably Stacy's going to want to retire at some time, at some point, right? Not all of us could be here forever, right? And I would just want to acknowledge, Linda, like, congratulations on your pending retirement, because you deserve that. But you need to have some sort of succession in place, and with the amount of turnover and the potential for somebody to have an appointment, right? You can't just appoint anybody. There has to be somebody who knows what's going on in the office.
Right. So
And it seems, so this is a succession plan, not only for this time that I am controller, but hopefully that helps in the future.
Right.
And especially, again, with the turnover that could be imminent every 4 to 8 years.
Well, it seems to me as well that the initiative coming from your office, you're simply removing the political aspect from this position in the future, which I think is responsible. And quite frankly, just a side comment, seems to me the controller is hitting the ground running in exercising responsibility when it comes to the overall structure of the controller's office with this particular initiative. So I will be supporting this. So, thank you.
I appreciate that. I did want to address,
I'm good.
okay, but you did ask about a part-time salary yesterday,
Okay.
a part-time employee, and my bad, I did not acknowledge my solicitor as a part-time employee. And I talked to him today, and then I realized, oh, that's the part-time individual in our budget. And so, yes, we have one part-time employee, and that is our solicitor. So, and all of this is in our budget. I checked again today just to make sure. We have $576,000 in employee salaries. We are, even if we hire one auditor, we still have money in our budget for this salary upgrade. And again, if you look at the upgrade from 28 to 32, you're talking about roughly $10,000 in what is currently being paid out in our budget. Okay?
Any other? Mr. Brown?
If you were to fill both Auditor 1 positions, would your budget still hold?
We would still have enough money in our budget to do that.
All, you can
I have no
senior
intention.
lead and still fill the remaining positions, and your budget would still hold? Or are you taking money from unspent salaries for open positions to justify that?
We do have money from unspent salaries that go to this. Anthony Sabino's salary was more.
I'm talking about.
We
the
also have
position that
Gupri.
is- Currently, as you're positioning this, if you fill the senior lead position, you have the other positions that still remain open. Mr. Gafredo asked you, well,
As far as
do
I am
they
aware,
remain? And then if you decide to go ahead and fill all of those other auditor positions.
as far as
do
I'm
your
aware, we
does
do
your
have
budget
enough.
still hold?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, yes. When we
Great.
did our calculations,
Okay.
yes.
Then I'll reiterate some of the comments I made last night. You're looking to stabilize the office, and yet you take your deputy position, which was, I believe, Anthony's position before he retired, and you filled it with a non-accountant, non-auditor type of person overall. So for me, if you were sincere in what you're attempting to position and concerned about the workload, then you would have filled that position with someone, I believe, my opinion, more inclined to be able to execute audits and do some of the workload as opposed to what your deputy background actually is. The other issue I have is that.
Can I speak to
in
that?
what you're-
No.
In the position, you're promoting the person to a senior lead auditor, which you're saying you're not creating, but you are, because it doesn't exist on your org chart currently. So you are creating the position, and you're
That's
offering
exactly
that
what I said.
person a 41% salary increase, which I'm trying to get my head wrapped around overall. It's a $33,000 increase over current salary that's being paid, I believe,
It's
as I
definitely not.
understand it. What's that?
So it's 67 to 81. It's probably,
Where's that?
I'm just going off.
Oh, okay.
You need to look at the pay scales,
I
not,
would-
not,
I-
the-
My
that's okay.
apologies for that. No, I was, thank you for pointing that out, so.
But I would love to speak to that point about me choosing an individual that you don't think can do audits. Actually,
No,
in,
that is not what I said. I said the ability to do audits as an accountant would, or someone in that area versus the person's background, so.
right. So one of the things that we have started to do in the Office of Controller so far is that we have year-end audits. And one of the things that Mark Arendt has been able to do, hit the ground running, is not only review and proof the audits that are coming in, which actually does fulfill some of the duties that Anthony Sabino did, but he's also starting to begin audit work. Now, these are small audits that both he and I are assigned to, but Stacy has been, what do I want to say? We have a budget of time and a spreadsheet whereby we allocate different year-end audits to individuals within our office. And both Mark and I are assigned audits to do. You do not need a CPA to do an audit, but it does need to be done by the standards required by generally accepted auditing standards. We have been looking through the yellow book. We have been reading everything that we need to. I've already finished in auditing 1 class. I'm on auditing 2, and we are going to be up and running. So if you think that I don't take this job seriously, you're definitely wrong. Thank you.
I did not make any comment as to whether you're taking the role seriously or not, just for a point of order on that.
Okay, but my
that's
appointment
it.
with Mark Arendt
Ms. Zirinsky.
was purposeful.
Ms. Zirinsky, thank you.
Sure,
And,
thank you.
Just to clarify Ms. Keegan's point, I did question District Attorney Barada on some of his appointments, so, when he came before this body. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No, good.
I have a question or two.
Okay. It's okay, sorry.
Starting at step 1 on grade 32. Where is her salary now?
So,
I forgot your last name. I just remember
Stacy.
Stacy.
Ms. Duke,
I'm actually a pay grade step 3 on
Right.
28th grade,
so on,
the 3C.
you have to come up.
Got it, thank
Says-
you. And where did we start the audit manager? She stated, I'll state it for the mic. I asked what step, and she's grade 28, step 3C. And
Right.
what grade and step did you start the audit manager?
We don't
Slash
have,
deputy controller.
he is pay grade 3C.
Pay grade, he's pay grade 35, 3C.
Oh, yes, pay
Yeah, I've
grade
got- I knew
35,
he was
3C.
35.
Sorry.
Were you offered the auditor, the audit manager position?
I don't know if I was.
I'm asking you, I'm not asking her, I'm asking you.
It was offered. I was not in the thing of the whole audit manager and being appointed. I have 21 more years with the county at least until I can retire. I do know with the new terms coming in and out that we will have a lot more. When I started, the controller could stay for many terms, as many as they wanted, and you could be guaranteed that position throughout your time. With the terms being changed from 4 to 8 years, that did not guarantee me anything at all. And I felt I wanted to remain with the county and within my office, and so I did not take the appointed position, no.
The way that I see this is that you are the senior member of this staff right now, and you are the person doing the bulk of the work, and probably the only person in the office who has the level of expertise to do this kind of work. So we appreciate that, and we value you for that. I did a little research on this, and I understand that the position that is audit manager now has not always been the only exempt position in the office. And so that Ms. Zirinsky did have the opportunity to do some changing in that matter, rather than, she could have given you that position, kept it career service, and we would be having different paperwork and different. But she did not, so this is where we are today. So I feel like we're in a rock and a hard place, but the hard place is to make sure that you're compensated appropriately for what you're about to do. So I just want you to know that I recognize that.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Yeah, I have
That's not
He was-
necessarily true.
Excuse me, he's been recognized.
I just want to say that, I left here last night thinking I wasn't going to support this. But then the more I did my own research, found out exactly where you were paid now, where you're being suggested to get paid to. I've been supporting increases in pay pretty much across the board just because of cost of living has gone up dramatically. But I want to shoot holes in the logic that, Ms. Zirinsky, I'm looking through the audit managers and deputy controllers. There's been consistency among different controllers that politicized position, Frank Kettle, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, he was with 3 different controllers. Anthony Sabino with 3 different controllers, including Scott Parsons, which was short-lived. But if you made the argument, hey, Stacy Duke's been here a long time, and, she's our most experienced controller or auditor, then, yeah, I think that'd be the way to go about doing this. But, it seems like there's been so much information thrown out here, with all these different graphs and charts. You're looking for a pay raise, and I think it's probably well-deserved. You've been a loyal employee to the county, and I'll support you for that.
I will say, though, Tony actually got appointed by Tony Basile, and he just stayed in under all the interns. They were all interns for Tony Basile's
Yeah.
death. Sorry, I just wanted
No,
to.
that's a good point. Thank you.
Mr. Kraft. Okay. And call for the vote?
Mr. Giovanni,
yes.
Mr. Gofredo,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
No.
Mr. Kapura.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8 to 1.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of Department of Human Services pay scales, revisions, resolution, Human Services, Civil Service, HS non-union, and PSSU union, PS union. Have Mr. Giovanni introduce the resolution. Go ahead.
Yes. Whereas on December 7th, 2023, the Northampton County Council adopted Resolution 119-2023, which adopted the 2024 pay scales for career service and exempt employees, not within collective bargaining units, whose job classifications are within the parameters of the Northampton County Career Service and exempt pay scales, respectively, as well as the part-time professional employees. And whereas on January 25th, 2024, the Department of Human Resources indicates that due to changes in the state maximum allowable salaries, it became necessary to revise the Human Service, Civil Service, non-union pay scale and the PSSU union pay scales effectively July 1st, 2023. Now therefore be resolved by Northampton County Council that the Human Services Civil Service, non-union and PSSU union pay scales shall be revised to read as indicated on the attached documents referred to Exhibit A.
Is there any discussion regarding this map? Mr. Giovanni?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Heckman? Here.
I'm going to support this. It is routine, but there's more to it when you look at what the state will allow versus what we do. And keeping with that, I would ask everybody to look at the scales and see how many steps we're talking about. We've had this discussion before about our pay scales and the classification. So at the Human Service Committee meeting, this will be the agenda item to discuss the positions, scales, and classifications and the steps. So tonight I'll support it, but it's important, I would think, for everyone to review these scales and just look at how many steps. What used to be a situation with 7 steps, maybe you have one with 19. It's really grown over the years to a point where it really doesn't even make much sense anymore. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
I lost my paper. Yeah, but I lost my paper. And it's a long read. Hold on. There we go. Next, we have the consideration of health, safety, and welfare bond for certain St. Luke's facilities resolution. Mr. Brown, will you introduce the resolution? Yeah.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Council of the County of Northampton, Eastern Pennsylvania, that 1, it is hereby declared to be desirable for the health and safety and welfare of the people in the area served by the facilities comprising the project, including without limitation the county, Lehigh County, Monroe County, Carbon County, Schuylkill County, and Bucks County, to have such facilities financed through the authority, and the authority is hereby authorized to finance the project for the benefit of the borrowers. 2, the issuance of the bonds to finance the project and related costs and expenses of the financing is hereby approved. It is being understood, however, that such approval does not and shall not directly or indirectly obligate the taxing power of the county or otherwise obligate the county in any way whatsoever, and is given for the sole purpose of complying with the applicable provisions of law relating to the financing of the project by the authority. 3, the proper officers and other personnel of the county are hereby authorized and empowered to take all such further actions and execute such additional documents as they may deem appropriate to carry out the purposes of this resolution. 4, all prior resolutions or parts of prior resolutions of the county not in accordance with this resolution are hereby repealed insofar as they conflict herewith. 5, the resolution is effective immediately.
Thank you. So, my understanding is that the council has to approve this. The GPA has already done so and is approving the refinancing or the financing of this bond. We as representatives of St. Luke's here tonight, if we need to ask them questions.
Yeah. I guess everybody else understands exactly what's going on here, but I could get a layman's summary of exactly what it is this document's telling me, because
If you would introduce yourself also, sir.
Scott Wolf, excuse me. 5 weeks into having congestion full-time, so bear with me. Not contagious, just for the record. This resolution would authorize our borrowing upwards of $450 million. $225 million of it is new money that will be used primarily to finance major expansion to our Anderson campus. And some of it will be used to reimburse us for money spent on our recently opened orthopedic hospital in the west end of Allentown. The remainder of the money will be used to refinance existing debt that we already have on our balance sheet, most of which are variable rate instruments, and we're trying to take advantage of economic opportunity to lower the interest rates and lower the risk associated with those variable rate debt instruments. So it's opportunistic, and it's also to help us expand on a campus that we sorely need to expand. That's layman's terms what we're trying to do.
and I guess my main question, and shame on me for not knowing, why is this Northampton County's responsibility for St. Luke's to designate whether or not you can refinance on loans that you currently have?
I would only say that we choose to come through Northampton County because of where the majority of the money is being spent.
Fair enough.
Do you want to speak to it?
That's all I
Mr.
have.
Member,
Thank
the
you.
GPA?
I could speak to it if John wants me to. I mean, it goes to, we float the bond through the General Purpose Authority. The General Purpose Authority gets a small percentage of it to use for our purposes, and the law that was enacted for hospitals and colleges to float these bonds, it has to go through our body to have them approved.
So we're kind of like a sponsor?
We're like a sponsor, but we have no responsibility for the loan. No, we don't pay anything back, but we do.
It looks good for the hospital tying with the
Well,
county.
I don't know where the law.
You're the
was-
conduit.
Stability.
You're the conduit for us.
Right.
We're on the hook for
That's
it.
good explanation. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Just to note, I have to recuse myself. Because I'm not going to see a dime of any of that $450 million, but I still have that name attached, so. Any other discussion? Call from the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Yes. Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Abstain.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Passes by a vote to 8-0 with one recusal.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
go
Thank you.
break ground.
Next, that we have consideration of Administrative Code, Article 13, Contracts, Resolutions. First, we have the Executive Building Services. Mr. Brown, will you introduce the resolution?
Executive Building Services, whereas Northampton County Administrative Code, Article 13, Procurement and Disposition of County Property, Section 13.15, Contracts and Agreements, C1, requires approval of County Council for any contract exceeding $100,000 which was awarded using the competitive negotiation after competitive sealed bidding, and non-competitive negotiation source selection methods. For contracts with renewal clauses and the entire potential payout if all renewal clauses are exercised under the terms of the contract must be considered when determining if council approval is necessary. And whereas on February 2nd, 2024, the Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $264,960,000 with the Executive Building Services for an estimated 3-year term with option to renew for 2 additional 1-year extensions for janitorial services at the Human Services Building. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with the Executive Building Services. And we did discuss this at the Finance Committee yesterday.
Any questions or discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo? Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have Herbert, Rowland, and Grubik Incorporated. Mr. Brown?
Whereas on January 23rd, 2024, the Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $193,000 terminating on December 31st, 2025 with Herbert, Rowland, and Grubik, Inc. for A&E services for the Norbath Trail East Extension. Now therefore be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with Herbert, Rowland, and Grubik, Inc.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have the PennDOT.
Whereas on February 8th, 2024, the Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving a contract with a total expenditure of $4,700,000, of which 80% is federally funded, or $3,760,000, and 20% is county funded, $940,000, with PennDOT for the removal of the High Street Bridge number 168 in Easton, Pennsylvania. Now therefore be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with PennDOT.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Mr. Kraft? Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Wilmer R. Schultz Incorporated. Mr. Brown, last time.
Whereas on June 26, 2023, Northampton County Council adopted Resolution 77-2023 endorsing a contract in the amount of $340,200 with Wilmer R. Schultz for the courthouse exterior wall and steps project with an estimated time frame of 105 consecutive days for completion. And whereas on November 13th, 2023, the Northampton County Council adopted Resolution Number 99-2023, approving an amendment to the contract with Wilmer R. Schultz to increase the total expenditure to $384,430.60. And whereas on February 2nd, 2024, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the contract with Wilmer R. Schultz to increase the total expenditure to $421,528.94. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve the contract amendment with Wilmer R. Schultz.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Are there any council committee reports? Mr. Giovanni.
Yesterday, we had a personnel committee meeting, and we approved the reappointments. We also approved reclassification for the controller for a senior lead auditor, and also the pay scale that was given by the state.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Brown?
Finance Committee met, several of the contracts we just approved were forwarded. The Controller did present several audit reports to the body also.
Thank you. Any council liaison reports? Mr. Giovanni?
I attended the Farm Preservation meeting, and we now have 19,236.97 acres, 250 farms preserved. They did get their farm preservation technician position filled. There is a person there. And also this year, there were approximately 24 farms applied for preservation. Out of those 24, I believe 17 qualified and in the process going through their approvals. And that is all.
Thank you. GPA met. We are down to T-2 bridges and counting, hopefully the end of the year. And you approved the fruits of our labor. Thank you for approving the St. Luke's bond. And there was no update yet on the Glendon Bridge, but it's in the state under review, correct? I'm here, thank you. We're getting back to the business at hand, which is nice to see. And council clerk's report.
Just a reminder, at March 7th, before the meeting at 6 o'clock, will be the council picture taking. So be here by 6.
County Solicitor? Nothing. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Could I have one person?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
They're like in chorus.